Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, November 1st. If you are joining me for the very first time, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll go over a recap of yesterday's picks, see how they ultimately ended up turning out. And then we'll move over to the injuries in play for today's main slate overall. Go over to DraftKings and FanDuel and go over my core 5 picks for each site. So it's going to be 1 point guard, 1 shooting guard, 1 small forward, 1 power forward, and 1 center. 1 player from each position that I do like today. For my core picks overall, those core picks could change throughout the day, so definitely be sure you're checking up on the comments, as we do get closer to lock, especially for all the latest injury news, as well as that updated core, probably about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock as a pinned comment, if there's any changes, or if there's any changes after that, be sure to follow throughout the night as well. But without further ado, we're going to get started with that recap of yesterday's picks. On the DraftKings side, we went with Jeremy Sohan at $5,500, looking for 28 points. He got to 24.25, so he was unfortunately missed yesterday, dealt with some foul trouble, played 30 minutes, probably could have got a couple extra minutes out of him and hit his price tag there, if he played just a little bit better without that foul trouble. And then at shooting guard, we went with Paul George at $8,600, looking for 43 points. Got to 51.75, so he was a hit. Might have even been the top scorer on yesterday's slate. I can't remember off the top of my head personally. Then we had Amir Coffey at the flat minimum of 3,000. Thought he was going to play decent sized minutes yesterday. Only ended up playing at 10, so he got to negative 0.5 on DraftKings. So he was a clear miss for us yesterday. And then kind of one of our other cheap options, in Dean Wade, $3,600. Looking for 18.7, he only got to 4.75. He was a miss. Only played 16 minutes, over 5 from the field, and that game did ultimately end up in a blowout. And then last but not least at center, we had Mitchell Robinson at $5,100. Looking for, 26 points down, got to 18.25. He was a miss. Only played 22 minutes in total in this game. Was not foul trouble, just kind of a blowout. So it was unfortunate for him for that to be the case. But, he played pretty well in the 22 minutes that he actually did play. So not the greatest day on DraftKings, not the greatest day on FanDuel, not the greatest day overall. Sometimes you'll have that with these smaller slates. On the FanDuel side, we had Jeremy Sohan at $6,000. Looking for 30 at him, got to 23.9, so he was a mess. Once again, played 30 minutes and got into some foul trouble. At shooting guard, we had Amir Coffey, who was the flat minimum once again, $3,500. Like I said, thought he was going to play a bigger role yesterday, only played 10 minutes, so he was a mess at negative 1 points. We could have seen like a little bit of it with Bones Highland starting, but I still wasn't too worried in that situation. But Kobe Brown ultimately did end up playing over him as well. And then at small forward, we had Grayson Allen at $4,200, looking for 21 at him, got to 32.9. So he was a really nice hit yesterday. At power forward, we had Kawhi Leonard. And he was $8,700, looking for 44 points out of him. Not a good day whatsoever, especially shooting from the field. So he got 27.1, so he was a mess. And then last but not least, once again, we have Mitchell Robinson at $6,000, looking for 30 points out of him, got to 18.4, so he was a mess. Those 22 minutes that did come in a blowout as well. So once again, not the greatest day overall, but you'll have that sometimes with these smaller slates. You just kind of get a little bit creative with them. Sometimes the lineups that you don't expect most to do well on the smaller slates are the ones that do the best. So a little bit harder to predict there too. We're still very early in the season. You'll have days like this, but we're going to make it up with some other good days at the end of the day. So with that being said, we're going to get over to the injuries in play for today's slate. So it is a 13-game main slate, which is going to be one of the larger slates that you'll probably see all season. We're going to start off with the Portland Trailblazers, who are without Anthony Simons and Ish Wainwright once again, so no real changes there. For the Detroit Pistons side, Bogdanovich, Livers, and Morris all out once again. And then we have Jalen Duran listed as questionable. If he's unable to go, Isaiah Stewart's going to look pretty good. You can take some shots on Marvin Bagley or James Wiseman if you want to do so as well. And then for the Milwaukee Bucks, we got Marshawn Beauchamp listed as questionable due to his illness. He did miss their most recent game, but not anybody that we want to play for DFS and not going to make a major impact for DFS either way. For the Toronto Raptors, we have Christian Koloko out once again. Precious Achiuwa technically have the gray line next to him, but I did read earlier he was doubtful, so he's probably going to miss once again. Makes Jakob Poeltl look a little bit better today. Maybe a couple shots on Chris Boucher if you want to get there as well. Then we move over to the Washington Wizards. Daniel Gafford questionable once again. He did their most recent game, and they did go with the super small ball lineup at that. Coulibaly got the start, and then you had kind of Advia Kuzma as the de facto center in that situation. So if he doesn't play, we're probably going to see something similar to that once again. And then on the Hawks side, Wesley Matthews is out once again. Trae Young listed as questionable. I believe he's dealing with like some Achilles soreness. If he does not play, DeJounte Murray is going to look amazing tonight. Even if he does play, Murray's probably going to look pretty good, coming off a pretty strong game in his own right. Then we move down to the Pacers, who have three pretty key players questionable at this point in time. So we got Tyrese Haliburton, obviously their best player, questionable, I believe, with an ankle injury. If he does not play tonight, TJ McConnell is going to look like a pretty good cash game play. And then we got Benedict Mathurin listed as questionable as well. So if he doesn't play, we probably see a little bit more of Andrew Nembhard and Buddy Hield in this situation. He's dealing with an elbow injury. Then there's Jalen Smith, who's dealing with a knee injury. He's listed as questionable. If he's unable to go, more minutes for Isaiah Jackson behind Miles Turner tonight. So could make a pretty big impact on this one. Probably a game that Celtics are going to blow out, especially if Tyrese Haliburton does not play tonight. And then for the Celtics side, just quite a list is questionable. So a guy that's not really in the rotation either way. Then we move over to the Brooklyn Nets. So we have Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson out once again. Spencer Dinwiddie is listed as out. And then there's also Dennis Smith Jr. listed as questionable at this point in time. So going to be some minutes opening up there, especially from Spencer Dinwiddie. And then if Dennis Smith Jr. misses, could be a lot more minutes opening up. We could see a guy like Lonnie Walker either enter the starting lineup or play a lot more minutes in this game. We'll see how that factors in for their team overall. Could be some pretty good value on this Nets team tonight. Then on the opposite side with the Miami Heat, Caleb Martin's out once again. Haywood Highsmith is listed as questionable. He's missed, I believe, every game so far to start the season. And then there's Jimmy Butler, who is listed as questionable. If he's unable to go, Tyler Hero is going to get a pretty big bump at that. We'll see who would enter the starting lineup at that point in time as well. And then Bam Adebayo is listed as probable after missing the most recent game with a hip contusion. Moving down to the Cleveland Cavaliers, this game is a back-to-back. It's the game that we did see last night between the Knicks and the Cavaliers. So right now for the Cavaliers, we got Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Ty Jerome, Karis LeVert. All this is questionable. We'll just have to follow up on that as the day moves along. Could make a pretty big impact on this slate overall. Ricky Rubio is still out for personal reasons. Looks like the Knicks are all the way healthy at this point in time once again. Then we move over to the New Orleans Pelicans. Brandon Ingram questionable after missing the most recent game with a knee injury. If he's unable to go once again, Jordan Hawkins did get the start and play pretty well, so he could be a very interesting paydown option. And then Dyson Daniels should get some more minutes as well. And then we got Jose Alvarado, Najee Marshall, and Trey Murphy all out once again. And then for the Oklahoma City Thunder, we got Kenrich Williams out once again. Jalen Williams, the center's not listed here, although he was earlier today, so have to look into that just a little bit more. And then we move over to the Charlotte Hornets, who were without James Bouknight, Miles Bridges, Cody Martin, and Frank Ntilikina once again, so no changes there. Houston Rockets without Tari Eason and Victor Oladipo once again, so absolutely no changes there once again as well. And then we move down to the Denver Nuggets. Kankar is still out, and it looks like they should get Jay Huff back for this game, although, he's kind of like their third or fourth center at this point in time, so he won't factor in for DFS purposes. For the Timberwolves, Clark is still out. Shake Milton and Jaden McDaniels both listed as probable. Both played in their most recent game as well. And then we get over to the Chicago Bulls. Zach LaVine listed as probable with his back injury. Should be good to go once again. And then on the opposite side with the Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving listed as questionable with that foot injury. Was not able to play their most recent game. We saw Josh Green get the start. And, Tim Hardaway get a little bit bigger role off the bench once again. Moving over to the Memphis Grizzlies, they're without Santi Aldama, Brandon Clark, John Morant, and now Derrick Rose is out for this game as well. So we could see some backup point guard minutes open up, probably like Luke Kennard taking over in that situation. But, maybe they throw somebody else into the rotation as well. And then on the Utah side, they look to be all the way healthy at this point in time. Then we move down to the Sacramento Kings. One of the bigger pieces of news for tonight is De'Aaron Fox is out. So we'll see if it's Davion Mitchell getting the start. We'll see if they throw in like Malik Monk or somebody else like that. That is another possibility. But, Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, all these guys are going to get a pretty big boost from no Fox tonight. And then obviously Sabonis is going to be Sabonis, and he's going to look a little bit better as well. And then Trey Lyles also out once again. For the Golden State Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga listed as questionable with his knee injury. We'll just have to see whether or not he plays or not. And then we got Klay Thompson and Dario Saric. Both of us is probable. Do expect that both end up playing tonight. And then we move over to the Clippers, who are on the back-to-back. This point in time, we got James Harden out as well as Brandon Boston. We'll see if PJ Tucker or Petrosiv end up playing this game. They obviously recently got traded to the team as well. Terrence Mann is up to questionable at this point in time. He has yet to play a game this season. And then we got the gray line next to Paul George. We'll see whether or not he plays, as well as Kawhi Leonard. So could be some value opening up for this Clippers team. We just ultimately need more news as it does come out throughout the day. And then on the Lakers side, they are without Vanderbilt, Hood Schifino, and Hachimura once again. Gabe Vincent listed as doubtful due to his knee injury, and Cam Reddish listed as probable due to his foot injury. So that's kind of where we're at for the 13-game main slate in terms of injuries. There's going to be a lot that we're watching throughout the day, so definitely be sure you're checking up in the comments down below as I do post up that injury news, especially as we get closer to lock. But with that being said, we'll get moving to DraftKings and talk about my core picks for today. So we are going to start off at the point guard position. I do think Tyrese Haliburton misses tonight, so I really like TJ McConnell here. He may or may not get the start. It might just be Nembhard entering the starting lineup. It's a little bit different team than it was last year, but in these spots, TJ McConnell has played really well in the past. He's $4,000. We're looking for 20 points out of him. If Haliburton's out tonight, pretty easily expecting him to get to like 26, but does have some upside for more, especially from the steals perspective, the assist perspective. And then we're going to get down to shooting guard with DeJounte Murray, who is $7,300. We're looking for 36, 37 points out of him, averaging about 38 so far in the season. Pretty favorable matchup tonight against Washington. If Trae Young's out, he's going to look extremely good. Would expect him to have 40 points or more. But, even if Trae Young's in, still looks like a pretty solid play overall. Then we move down to small forward, going right back to Sir Thompson once again. He has 40 points in the most recent game. He's at $5,800. Still a value here. We're looking for 29 points out of him. He's averaging 33 on the season. So looks like a really, really safe play. Does give us that pretty strong upside that we did see in his most recent game as 40 points as well. And I currently have him projected for about 32 or so. Do think that's a really reasonable projection overall, but could definitely outperform that. Then at power forward, we're going to go with John Collins. He's $5,500. We're looking for 27, 28 points out of him. He's averaging 32 on the season. Currently have him projected for about 31. If he can get Jaren Jackson into foul trouble, should be a pretty favorable matchup for him overall. That is something that could happen. I'm not expecting it, but if it does happen, he's going to look even better tonight. Then we move down to the center position with Jakob Poeltl. Like I said, Precious Achiuwa listed as doubtful at this point in time. There should be more minutes for Jakob Poeltl. He played 28 in the most recent game. Looking for 28, 29 points out of him at $5,700. Think that's very doable tonight. Going against Milwaukee, it's an interesting matchup. You got Brook Lopez there, but, Giannis could get him in a little bit of foul trouble. But, if he's mainly out on Brook Lopez, not too worried about it. Probably getting a lot of Pascal Siakam on Giannis either way. So do like Jakob Poeltl in this matchup tonight. Currently, I'm projected for about 30 fantasy points. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you'll have $21,700 remaining, just over $7,200 per player. So a lot of room and flexibility. So if you want to pay up for somebody, definitely an option tonight. I do like Nikola Jokic as kind of my preferred pay up option, but if you want Domantas Sabonis up there as well, seems pretty reasonable. Giannis still has a pretty attractive price tag. Jason Tatum's played really well. Luka's been out of the world so far this season. Good matchup against the Bulls, but $12,600, quite a bit of money to be spent there. But some good pay-up options, some good value options, some good mid-range options. Going to make a very, very interesting 13-game main slate overall. So feel free to get very creative on this slate. Then with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. We're going to start off at the point guard position with Scoot Henderson, a guy that's really struggled the first couple games, showed a lot of promise. His most recent game goes against Detroit today, so it looks like a pretty favorable matchup. $5,300, you're looking for 26, 27 points at him. Currently, I'm projected for 29. Looks like one of the better values at the point guard position tonight. But at the same time, if Haliburton misses, TJ McConnell is still going to look like a really good play on FanDuel as well. And we have 2 point guard slots, so we could put, TJ McConnell and Scoot Henderson alongside each other very easily. At shooting guard, we're going to DeJounte Murray once again. He's $8,300, so $1,000 more expensive on FanDuel. You're looking for 41, 42 points out. I'm averaging essentially 38 on the season so far. It is a very attractive matchup against the Wizards once again. I'm kind of banking on Trae Young being out tonight, so I think that's what makes Murray a good play. If Trae Young ultimately ends up playing, this play could switch over to somebody else on the FanDuel side for that being said, but DraftKings still looks pretty strong either way. And with that being said, if Trae Young's out, I think we're going to get 40-plus points out of DeJounte Murray pretty easily tonight. If he's in, probably looking more towards 39, so still not a bad play, but there could be better options available at that point in time. Small forward, we're paying down today with Kevin Huerter. Off to a slow start so far. Not going to lie about that whatsoever. $4,800, looking for 24 points out. He is a guy that did benefit quite a bit last season when De'Aaron Fox was out, getting a couple extra assists, getting a couple extra shot attempts. So I would expect that to kind of happen once again tonight. So $4,800, like I said, looking for 24 points out. Currently, I'm projected for 26, 27 tonight in a pretty favorable pace-up spot against the Golden State Warriors as well. Then we move down to John Collins at $6,200. We're looking for 31 points out of him. He's averaging just over 30 on the season. Like I said on the DraftKings side, looks like a pretty favorable matchup. Kind of projected right around that 30 to 31 point mark today. Decent power forward option. If he can get Jaren Jackson into some foul trouble, it could ultimately end up being an even more favorable matchup, although I do not expect that fully to happen, but there is always the possibility that it does happen as well. And then last but not least, we got Jakob Poeltl on the FanDuel side as well, $5,900, probably just a couple of $100 too cheap on him. He hasn't played the minutes quite as much this season, but last game with Precious Achiuwa out, he did get up to 28. Currently I'm projected for about 30 points or so on the FanDuel side. Definitely could have some upside for more as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players on the FanDuel side, you'll have $29,500 remaining, just under $7,400 per player remaining, so a lot of money left over. Like I said on the DraftKings side, if you want to pay up for some starts tonight, definitely makes some sense. On FanDuel too, I'll say this too, if you don't want to play Jakob Poeltl and you want to play Domantas Sabonis or Nikolai Jokic at that center position, definitely could do it today. You can also play Sabonis at power forward. So that's a nice little bonus for today overall, especially with De'Aaron Fox out, but should make for a pretty interesting slate. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of good high-end values. There's going to be a lot of good mid-range values, and there's going to be a lot of cheap guys that do percent values today. Makes for a very interesting 13-game main slate and shows how creative people can get on the slate overall for those of us that do like to get creative, even if we're using an optimizer at the end of the day. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, November 1st. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below. Also, be sure to note whether those questions are FanDuel or DraftKings specific so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then with that being said, I will post all the injury updates throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do come out throughout the night. So definitely be sure to look out for them. If there's any changes to my core picks prior to lock, 15 to 20 minutes, I'll leave it as a pinned comment. If there's any changes after that, we'll also leave that in the pinned comment. So definitely be sure to check it up as we get closer to lock and a little bit throughout the night as well, especially on tonight's 13-game main slate overall. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, would ask that you do subscribe to the channel. If you are somebody who is not already subscribed, would ask that you do the same. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it's mainly the NBA DFS Monday through Friday. We'll be doing a little bit of NFL DFS here and there. I haven't been able to do quite as much as I would like this year, but at least would like to go through my player pool with you guys for week number 9. So definitely be sure to check out that video as it does come out, probably on Friday of this week. And then also be sure to check out my NFL DFS cheat sheets over on the Sports Affiliation website. And then last but not least, if you are into sports betting, prop betting, or you're brand new to it, want to check it out for the very first time, be sure to click on the links down below for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. If you have any questions about those 3 whatsoever, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible, or reach out to me on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. Be more than happy to help you with them. For each of those sites, you do get a pretty good first deposit match, just depending on how much you put in, and helps you guys out a little bit as you get started in your sports betting, in your prop betting journey, and helps me out a little bit on the side. And once again, if you guys need any help with that whatsoever, feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to help you there as well. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have at this point in time. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning into this video. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.